In December of 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a city bus to a white passenger. The bus driver had her arrested. She was tried and convicted of violating a local ordinance. Her act sparked a citywide boycott of the bus system. The passage I just read to you is from a 4th grade level reading book. In 1980, when I was in the 4th grade, it would have been a struggle for me to have read that to you. Actually, my struggle with reading started in the 1st grade. By the time I was in the 3rd grade, I was actually in the slow reading group. I would actually cringe when it was my turn to read out loud. According to the Michigan Education Association, only half of Michigan 3rd grade students scored proficient or above on the M-STEP 2017 test. It was not until my 4th grade teacher gave me a U, which meant unsatisfactory, on my report card, and was considering making me repeat the 4th grade, that I actually learned how to read. See, what happened was my father took the initiative himself to teach me how to read. The problem that I was having with reading was I did not know what sounds, when you put multiple letters together, what sounds they made, or how to break down words by syllables. For example, the you put A and G together, they make the ag sound. You put a B in front of it, ag, bag, or a G in front of it, gag. Once I learned what sounds letters made and could break words down by syllables, then I could actually read. That was my first experience with failure. See, I believe that if I would have never failed, I would have never really learned how to read, and I would have continued to struggle on. After I learned how to read, I actually began to do well in school. I did so well that I was able to attend one of Detroit's elite high schools, Cass Tech. But once at Cass, you have to maintain above a C grade point average to stay. Well, I only did the bare minimum, and it was working for me for a while. I managed to skate through the 9th and 10th grades, and I almost skated through the 11th grade, but by the end of the 11th grade, my GPA fell below a 2.0, and I was kicked out of Cass. That was one of the most humiliating experiences in my life. See, my father, brother, and sister all graduated from Cass. So here I am, the first person to break the family tradition. Well, I went on to Benedictine High School for my senior year. I got myself together. I got my grades up. Actually, I made the honor roll for 3 semesters. And then I came, and I graduated in 1989. And then I came here to Wayne State University. I received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in political science, thanks in part to Project 350. Project 350 was a program that worked with first-generation minority college students who did not meet the regular admission standards to get into Wayne. They gave you support services, advising, counseling, study skills to help you with your transition to college. What I learned from Project 350 was the value of support systems for first-generation college students. You would have thought that after all that failure I experienced with learning how to read, getting kicked out of Cass, that I was pretty much through with failure. And that was the case for a while. After I graduated, I went on to have a successful career in local government. For 13 years, I held a variety of leadership positions with the city of Detroit. And then in 2007, I lost my job. I was the deputy director of the Department of Human Services. After I lost my job, I went back to school and got a master's degree in public administration. I had been talking about going back to school for a number of years, but see, I was actually making a great salary and I had excellent benefits. I was comfortable. failure can be an incentive. So after I got my master's degree, I also started a consulting business. I started working with nonprofit organizations and helping them in the areas of capacity building, strategic planning, leadership development, fundraising, and I actually developed a capacity building grant making strategy for a foundation. I began working with nonprofits when I was actually working for the city of Detroit through the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Home Partnerships Program, and the Head Start Program. And a number of these nonprofits, unfortunately, did not implement the programs that they said they would or achieve the program outcomes that they said they could. This stuff wasn't done intentionally. Most of the time, it was due to a lack of capacity issues. But many of these nonprofits that failed really did not want to share that. They would cover up their failure, most of the time because they thought there would be repercussions for their failure, loss of funding, so forth. But just imagine if nonprofits actually shared their information with one another, just how much more they could learn from each other. We could learn best practices about how to do things. We could improve our community at a much higher rate. So let's just think for a minute. What if we stop looking at failure as something as punitive? We stop looking at failure as something punitive, we could really advance our community at a much higher rate. It was my interest in nonprofit leadership and public administration that brought me back here to Wayne State to pursue my PhD. So I want you to stop covering up your failure and instead look at failure as a red light or a siren and the opportunity to avoid a disaster. When we all share our failures together, then we can learn from one another and grow as a community. For me, failure helped me find my passion. I hope that you will learn from your failures and find your true passion. Thank you.